Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. I'm ready.
NBC, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Station for a voice check.
Station, this is NBC. How do you hear me?
NBC, the International Space Station, has you loud and clear. Welcome on board.
Thank you so much. Hey, Christina, how you doing? This is Lawrence Jackson with NBC. I want to thank you so much for the time.
Hey, Lawrence, great to be with you.
Seriously, I'm so excited to talk to you. This is awesome. I want to thank you so much for the time. I'm going to get right into it. You took part in the first all-female spacewalk, and now you hold the record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman. And when you come back to Earth, you'll have spent 328 days in space, which is amazing. How do you feel about being a trailblazer in your industry?
Well, for me, it's just all about the honor that I feel to follow in the footsteps of my heroes, and hopefully I can make it about paying homage to them. They're the ones that paved the way for us to all be where we are today. And also I look at it as an opportunity to hopefully inspire the next generation of future explorers. I know for me it was important to see people that I saw a reflection of myself in growing up when I was envisioning, you know, what I could do with my life and what my dreams might be. So the idea to maybe be that source of inspiration for someone else is just such an honor, and I hope to carry that forward even when I'm back on Earth.
Amazing, and I'm sure Peggy, along with a few other people, are extremely proud. Not only did you break records in space, but you've also done multiple research tours. Antarctica, Greenland. Any goals or any ideas for what might be next for you?
You know, it is kind of neat to think what the different skills I've gathered up here in space for almost 11 months I may be able to bring to bear and contribute to something in the future. And, you know, I'm just planning to stay with NASA. I really love what I do. I've held this program in such high regard my entire life. So to be able to give back to it and to be a part of human spaceflight is just the most amazing thing I can hope for. So I'm hoping to just keep right on doing it back on the ground. And you never know, maybe another spaceflight's in my future too.
Maybe, maybe. Do you have a favorite memory that you can share with us from your time?
Gosh, there's just so many to pick from. I'll never obviously forget the very first time I came through the hatch and saw the space station. I couldn't believe it was actually real. Having trained on it for 6 years straight, having seen all the mock-ups of it, having seen video of it for so long, and then to actually be here and be floating around and to be surrounded by my crewmates who are some of my best friends was just overwhelming. Seeing again that it was really real and that this marvel, this engineering marvel that we all work on together is here. And I'd say the other really awesome memory was on the spacewalk with Jessica and I when we first got the go to come out of the airlock, and we ended up coming out and we were holding onto a handrail and we just caught each other's eye, and we knew how special that moment was, and I'll never forget that.
Wow, that is truly amazing. What's one thing you might like to say to young women who have a dream that might seem a little bit too ambitious for them, that people might say, oh, you're dreaming too big, like going to space? What's one thing you would say to young girls who have a huge dream like that?
You know, I think the key to achieving your dreams is to go after things that you absolutely love yourself, to believe in yourself and to trust yourself. And I think another thing that I tell people is do what scares you. Because usually if it's scaring you, if it's something that seems right outside of your reach, it's something that intrigues you, that you're passionate about, but maybe you're just not quite sure you can accomplish it. So if you do what scares you, you might find just how much you're capable of. And I think the last thing I would say is support the people around you. I think when we all support each other, we can all achieve the most greatness out of everything and give back the most to the world.
Wow. Okay. Christina, I have one last question for you. It's a little fun, so have some fun with me. In music, there have been multiple references to space. You look at Missy Elliott's Super Duper Fly music video. She's got the big space suit on. She's bouncing around. One of my favorite rappers, Gunna, has his song called Space Cadet, where he says, bought a space coupe, now I'm a space cadet, talking about a foreign car being space-like. Do you have a favorite reference in music, song, or lyric where you feel like, oh, they really had fun or they nailed what space might be like in real life?
That is a great question. It is really neat to see how much space has shown up in pop culture and how many times we see references to it. I couldn't really pick one favorite, but I always kind of like the references to, you know, being an astronaut and how much that's just kind of like the accomplishment you might think of a lifetime and kind of something that we can all look forward to and something that would make us feel great inside if we were able to do it. And I've heard that in a few different songs.
Wow. Cristina Cooke for NBC News, I want to thank you so much for the time. And hopefully Earth isn't too boring when you get back. Hopefully it doesn't underwhelm.
I'm definitely looking forward to being on the same planet as everybody else very soon. Thank you for your time. It's been great talking with you.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the NBC portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from CBS.
Station, this is Bill Harwood, CBS News. How do you hear me?
Hello, Bill. The International Space Station has you loud and clear. Welcome on board.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you doing this, especially since I'm going to ask you about the same 1,000 questions you've already been asked. But since I've only got about 6 minutes, I'm going to jump right in if that's okay with you. So you've been aboard station for almost a year now, and you seem totally adapted to space. So what are the top 2 or 3 things you're going to miss the most about life in orbit once you're back on Earth?
You know, that is so true. It is amazing what the human body and mind can adapt to, and I do feel pretty adapted to this place. I think number one, hands down, is I'm going to miss my crewmates. We are like family. We support each other. We work together. We have the same dreams, and it's been awesome to basically get to know another set of people outside my own family on Earth so well, and that's just a privilege that not everyone has, especially in, you know, your adult career. And I think definitely the other thing I'm going to miss the most is being able to do this whenever I want. Microgravity is a lot of fun, and I haven't actually put my feet down or walked in a long time, and it's really fun to be in a place where you can just bounce around between the ceiling and the floor whenever you want.
You know, taking that the other
Mr. Gay, I have a request.
You're looking forward to the most about getting home. Family is a given, of course, but what are you really, really looking forward to other than that?
Well, you nailed it. My friends and family, number one, for sure. And when I think about the things I might do in my first couple weeks home, some things like being outdoors is really at the top of the list. I live near the beach, and I absolutely love the water. So hopefully going for a swim or a surf or just walking my dog on the beach, feeling the sand, feeling the wind, those are things that you can't really replicate up here. So I can't wait to be out in nature.
So, you know, your flight is obviously the longest ever by a female single flight, and you got to do 6 spacewalks, including the first 3 all-female EVAs with your pal Jessica. How important are milestones like that, or are they as important as we've made them out to be here on the ground?
You know, I've had a chance to think about a lot of that because the amount of support and outpouring of interest from those spacewalks in particular, and in some ways the record-breaking part of the mission, have been overwhelming and in some ways a big surprise. And I think that it's led me to really think about that very question. And I've come to the conclusion, and some friends have also told me, that milestones are important, and I think they're important for a couple of reasons. One is they get the conversation going about where we are, the state of the art in human exploration. People might hear about that, and then people that may not have realized where we were kind of in that broad spectrum of exploring space can kind of tune in and pay attention. And then the second aspect of that is inspiration. I think some people draw inspiration from milestones and from things that they've seen someone work hard to achieve. So I hope that those two things together, outreach and inspiration, make it worth all the talk about these different things that we've had the honor to do.
You know, I'm always struck by how strictly business astronauts are when they're outside on a spacewalk. And I know the work's the main thing, but the view must be mind-boggling. I mean, don't you ever just want to shout out, you know, oh, my God, look at that, or something like that?
We absolutely do, and you're right. The amount of focus that it takes to complete a spacewalk is really high. And for 99.9% of the time, we're so focused on the task, on being vigilant, keeping ourselves safe, that we don't necessarily get a chance to look around. But there have been times, either because we're waiting on a task or just where we're poised on the space station, where I've had the chance to look down. And one of those times was when I was riding the robotic arm, and I was in the middle of motion, and they were setting up the next motion inside here, my crewmates were, and so I had a little downtime to look down at the Earth, and the view I had was straight down a solar array which was pointed nadir at the Earth, and it was just this it was like looking at a skyscraper facing down to the Earth, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and I will definitely never forget that moment. And yes, sometimes we do give shout outs because we can't help ourselves.
Well, you got another one coming up. You know, by all accounts, coming back to Earth in a Soyuz is an e-ticket ride. Most of us, I think, would probably consider that a fairly risky experience. How do you see it, and what are you looking forward to about the ride home?
Well, the Soyuz is definitely one of the most reliable spacecraft that's ever been flown, and so that part of it is really good to know. Also, my friends all tell me that the ride under the parachutes is the ride of your life. So if you just look at it like that, like it's really fun, then you'll have a great time and you'll be fine. I think for me, one of the things I'm really looking forward to is seeing the plasma go by on the window when we're actually doing re-entry and the G's are starting to hit. I think that will really make it feel real that I'm actually coming back from space.
Well, you mentioned weather. I think there's snow on the steppe of Kazakhstan when you get back up. Are you ready for gravity again? I got to fly on a zero-G airplane many, many years ago, and I always thought that was about the most fun I'd ever had, but it only lasted 30 seconds at a time.
You know, everyone says that getting back into gravity is such a surprise because you suddenly have to actually work to raise your own arms and of course your legs. And they say that, you know, when the G's first start to hit as you're coming through the layers of the atmosphere, that even when you're at 0.2 of a G, essentially, you can already feel it, and it already feels so heavy. So I think that will be definitely something to get used to. I haven't had to hold up even my own body weight in a long time, so we'll see how that goes.
Hey, my last question, Christina, you know, you're more qualified than most to weigh in on what astronauts on eventual flights to Mars will have to cope with. Based on your experience, is there anything that you've learned that suggests something that might need to be changed to keep crews, you know, psychologically, physically fit on those long flights? Any lessons learned from your flight that might apply to a trip to Mars?
You know, I think on those even longer duration flights, variety is going to be the answer. Variety both in the fitness aspects of what we do, the resistance training or weightlifting, and the cardio. Being able to just do a lot of different things so that it doesn't get old and you don't have the fatigue, the mental fatigue of doing the same thing over and over again. And then on the side of psychological support, I think involving more changing environments. You know, I like to tell people my eyes haven't seen anything other than what's inside these modules in almost 11 months. And I think that sensory stimulation and being able to see new things, new colors, new smells is really important for keeping the mind fresh. And so whether that's through virtual reality things where you can actually interact maybe with your friends and family in a virtual environment that might be like being outdoors or something like that. But I think we have a lot of really exciting directions where we can grow in that area. And I think we're actually looking into those options for future Mars missions. So it's exciting.
Well, hey, listen, thank you very much. Have a great flight home, and look forward to seeing you on the ground again.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to it as well.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the CBS portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from Westwood 1.
Station, this is Westwood 1. How do you hear me?
Hello, Westwood 1. The International Space Station has you loud and clear. Welcome on board.
This is Michael Toscano from Westwood 1, Astronaut Cook. Welcome back to First Light.
Thank you. It's great to be with you, Michael.
So the first question is, what are you telling me there's no salsa in space?
You know, salsa is something that we can fly in space. And earlier in my mission, we actually had these really neat little packets of salsa that would last forever. So we could have that up here. But it's not actually one of our standard menu items. So when the crew member who actually had ordered all that salsa left, suddenly my salsa supply went away too. And I didn't really realize it was going to be in short supply.
Well, there'll be plenty waiting for you back down here on Earth. So I wanted to ask you about the fact that you are making history. The longest duration in space for a female, the part of the first all-female spacewalking crew. Now, you're in space, an awesome experience only a few human beings have ever gotten to experience. Your life is dependent on a tether as you float above the Earth, and down here we're talking about the fact that you are a woman. Does that give you mixed feelings?
You know, I think for me, talking about these milestones for women is actually to honor the people that paved the way for us to be where we are today. And how I feel is just really that nothing could make me more proud to be able to follow in the footsteps of my heroes, even if it's in one very small way, and also hopefully to inspire the next generation of explorers. I mean, I definitely look forward to a time when demographics are transparent and we don't have any underrepresented groups. But in the meantime, I think that highlighting this story, it helps us to move towards a world where everyone who has a dream who has to work, equally as hard to achieve that dream. I also think that it's really not about a single person's achievement. So what it's really about is the fact that we collectively as a program have decided the importance of going for all and by all. And so to not highlight that is to take away from the achievement that we all share and that everyone really should be proud of.
When we last talked, you had been on board for about 3 months or so, and you were pretty optimistic about the future of space exploration and the use of human flights with augmented help from robots. Do you still feel that robot-augmented space travel is the way of the future?
You know, I do see examples of that, and I do think it's an interesting way to go to sort of share duties on board. One example of augmented missions that we have right now is a science experiment or a technology demonstration experiment that I've been able to work on called AstroBeat, where we're commissioning a new set of robots that can actually navigate around the station using video cameras. So that's really exciting. And then for space exploration, I think automated exploration and robotic exploration is a really big part of the picture, especially in recon missions. So coming up, we're going to be doing a Mars sample return mission, and I think that'll have a lot of technological implications for future human missions to Mars to actually bring back a piece of the planet and decide how we can best do that. So it's an exciting time to be working in this sort of dual mode of operation, and I think that that's the best way we can maximize our potential to benefit life back on Earth with the cool science that we're doing.
Astronaut Cristina Cooke is with us on First Light this morning, joining us from the International Space Station. Now, you've been on this craft for a long time now, and it must be like home. Now, what's going to happen when its usefulness is over? Are they going to trash it? And if so, would you like to see it saved for history?
Well, I do think that there are several more years of useful scientific contributions in the space station that's still planned. When that lifetime is eventually up, which has happened in the past for other space stations, typically it is deorbited and often will just burn up in the atmosphere. But I hope that certain portions of it are preserved for the historical record. It has done so many amazing things. It's been a symbol of international cooperation. And so to bring pieces of that back and to show this achievement for what it is, I think is really important.
Do you want to, and are you planning to go on a mission to Mars at some point?
Well, certainly if that were something that were offered to me, it would absolutely be my honor. I've always said my whole life that I wanted to go on a mission to Mars. I remember being asked that question when I was very young. So it would be such a great honor. I actually look to future Mars missions, which is NASA's plan after we go back to the moon soon to sort of prove out the technologies. Once we do head to Mars, I think we'll have the opportunity of a generation, which is to look into the question of, are we alone? Is there life elsewhere? And so, of course, if I did ever have the chance to contribute to that, it would just truly be amazing.
So we're almost out of time, but I do want to ask, we know you want to see your family and friends and walk on the beach and all that, but how much do you just want to be completely alone for a while?
You know, honestly, I haven't felt that sensation. You might think so after being in a very confined environment with a few other people and not having necessarily a lot of private areas or places to go where you could just be alone. But it's kind of the opposite. I'm a little worried about not having people around, not having friends around as much as I've had them up here. Up here, there's always someone to bounce an idea off of. There's always someone to ask for help with something, and there's always somebody to have a laugh with, share a meal with. So I think I'll probably miss that.
All right, thank you so much for being with us. I hope that the next time we talk to you, you are down here with both feet firmly on the ground. Astronaut Christina Koch, thanks so much for being with us on First Light.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the Westwood 1 portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from WSOC-TV.
Station, this is WSOC. How do you hear me?
Hello, WSOC. The International Space Station has you loud and clear. Welcome on board.
Christina, thanks again so much for your time. This is Blaine Tollison out of Charlotte, North Carolina. It is such an honor to speak with you. And the first question, if you could show off some microgravity for us and talk about countermeasures, all the work that you do up there to combat the negative effects of space, how that research will continue back on Earth, and all of that time you're going to spend as they learn about long-term impacts on the human body.
Well, that is a great question, Lane, and I think you really hit on the fact that the whole reason we have this amazing laboratory in space is because there's things that you can study in microgravity that you just can't study elsewhere. And one of those things is the physiology of the human body and how it reacts to microgravity. So up here, to combat the bone loss and muscle loss that we might otherwise have in an environment where we don't even have to hold up our own body weight, we do a lot of working out. So we have both resistance training, or what you might call weightlifting on Earth, and we also have cardio training. And those things keep our body healthy, keep our bones strong, keep our muscles strong. And there's all kinds of really interesting other science going on about some other changes that happen in the human body. For example, because you don't have gravity pulling the fluids of your body down, you have a fluid shift, they say, upward in your body, and that causes a lot of trickle-down effects in the physiology of humans. So I'll continue to do data collection for those types of experiments that I've been doing both before I flew, during my flight, and I'll continue that after. So it's really a neat way that we can actually study the human body along with everything else that we study in so many different kinds of science up here.
Incredible what you have to do up there and how you stay healthy. My next question is actually from a group called Carolina Kid Coders. They have some all-girls coding classes where they learn about coding and working with robotics. So I have a couple questions from some young ladies who would like to learn about your career. So just one quick second here.
Hi, my name's Anya, and I was wondering, how many years have you been in school to be an astronaut?
Well, it turns out that to apply to be an astronaut, you just have to have one college degree. So that would be 12 years of school to finish out high school, and typically about 4 more years in college. Now, to be competitive, most people also have an advanced degree. So that means studying a few more years after you've graduated with your first degree in college. So I like to also think, though, it's about the different experiences that you gather up in addition to your education that are really a part of being a good astronaut and being able to contribute the most once you're up here.
And we got another one here.
Hi, my name is Cammie and I'm 11 years old. I was wondering, what advice would you give to a girl my age who wanted to become an astronaut when they grow up?
I think the best advice I can give to anyone is to follow your passions, to know yourself, do what you love, and also do what scares you. Do the things that you think might be just outside of your reach, but they intrigue you and they call your name. I think that when you achieve those things, you find out what you are capable of, and it brings back just so much satisfaction and genuine fulfillment that you just keep kind of feed forwarding on that, and you can find yourself excelling in all kinds of ways. And finally, I would say support the people around you. When we all work together to achieve our dreams and to help those around us achieve their dreams as well, I think we kind of amplify the effect, and we can all give our best and do our best to give back to the world too.
Christina, you've talked about self-improvement and the things you've learned about yourself living in those close quarters. What of that will you take back to Earth with you, you think?
I think the biggest lesson is about happiness and not requiring the environment around you to provide you with the things you need to be happy, but to recognize that you have the ability to decide to be happy and to take your environment. And happiness is really just about responding to that environment in a positive way and how you look at things. And I think that in turn allows you to be your best self. It allows you to be most productive. It allows you to give back in the maximum way possible. And it also makes you somebody that people want to work with, so that that kind of amplifies, and then hopefully everyone sort of gets to benefit from that. So just recognizing that, you know, there's more to genuine happiness and fulfillment than expecting things to be provided for you by what's around you, and knowing that it's really all about attitude. I think that's going to be the biggest life lesson that I hopefully carry forward back on Earth.
That's an incredible life lesson that I think we can all learn from, too. The world's going to be watching you come back to Earth, and it'll be an incredible moment to see you back here at home. Can you picture that moment, and what are you looking forward to?
I have definitely pictured that moment a few times, and I think there's going to be a lot of things that sort of hit me all at once. One is going to be the environment, you know, smelling the smells of Earth that I haven't smelled in so long, hopefully feeling a little breeze. And then secondly, the people. I haven't seen new people in 11 months, so, you know, having the crew up here, it's a very small number of people that I've actually physically interacted with over the last 11 months. And so getting to see so many people, so many familiar faces, it's going to be really, really awesome. And also it's going to be pretty cold in Kazakhstan, so I hope they have plenty of warm clothing for me, because I hear that there's about 40 centimeters of snow on the ground.
Well, hopefully we can get a spacecraft to bring you home to Cape Canaveral soon. Have a safe flight, and if there's anything else you'd like to say, I've asked you a lot of questions, but other than that, please have a safe trip and good luck.
Thank you so much, and it is wonderful to speak with someone from my home state. I can't wait to go to North Carolina again and be with my friends and family there. So take care. It's been great speaking with you today.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on the International Space Station. Thank you.
Thank you to all participants from NBC, CBS, Westwood 1, and WSOC-TV. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.